soon as Tass is done praying, we will begin.
Oh, we are live.
We are live.
Why does it say mute? Oh, that says mute mic, I thought. There we go. That was the whistle to get everybody rounded up.
All right. Tass, do me a favor. Move over a little.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
There
All right.
Oh,
Now we can start. All right, Perry, let me check with the producer. Are we sharing? Yes, we're live. Yeah, we're live. But he knows.
Hello, everybody.
We don't start until we get at least 1,500 viewers. How's everybody doing? It's been a few weeks.
Actually, that fixed the light problem. I didn't know that the light was going to be this bright. I did my makeup this morning. Isn't that what they do on bright lights? I know. I just saw you get powdered up.
Well, you're a guest. Hello, Mr. Johnson. Why can't we see that?
Just pull the whole tab over.
All right. Hold on, everybody. Okay, there we go.
There it is.
All right, everybody. So, welcome to the Metzger Tassoul Show. We're your hosts for the next 90 minutes, Shane Tassoul and Mike Metzger. And we're losing viewers.
That's right. Mr. Nepkin.
Yes, sir. It was great seeing you. And I agree with you. It was a great event, our March event. Hey, so we're going to talk about shortly, we're going to talk about the industry as a whole, because at the event we had over 400 martial artists join us for the event this last weekend. And yes, are some people having a record quarter? Did they have a record quarter? Are they doing very well? Yes, but with all transparency, as I like to say.
Full transparency, which means?
I'm going to tell you the truth for a change.
Good. All right, good.
The industry as a whole seems to be down, and some struggling. And when I asked the people in the room, is it on retention? Is it on recruitment? Is it on revenue? It was on recruitment and, of course, revenue, right? When we monitor our growth, we typically look at our bottom line and we look at revenue. So we are down, I think, as an industry. I think the industry, it's just a little bit harder today than maybe it was a year ago or 2 years ago to get new students in the door or to generate the revenue. And that's kind of the sense that we got at the event. Would you concur with that, Mr.? I'm throwing it to you, Mr. Tassoul.
Yes, I concur. Absolutely, and it was evident in some of the themes of the topics as well that we offered, and where we saw people spending a lot of their time. And maybe the coincidence is we haven't done a lot of these shows this year, and that might be why the industry is struggling right now.
Well, that's what we talked about. We've been a little more inconsistent with the Metzger Tassoul Show. I don't know if there's a correlation with the industry being down because of that, but we're still waiting for that data to pour in, and we should have that when, Mr. Perry? 24 hours. Thank you, Perry. I'm laughing because normally I thought it would take longer, but I didn't realize we would have that much 24 hours.
Yeah, there's not as much to add to the poll because the industry's been down.
So stay with us through the elementary humor, and we will give you some ideas and tips. But let me ask you before we dive in, who that is watching, are you, when I say struggling, I don't want anyone to be embarrassed by that term, but are you struggling, meaning is it a little bit more difficult today to get new students or your revenue as opposed to a year ago? Yes or no? I'd like to know what your thoughts are. And in the comments, we'll kind of see who our audience is.
And in context, here's the thing, right, is we say this as an industry as a whole. Does it mean everybody? No, it doesn't mean everybody, right? I think you said it. There are some of you that are maybe having record years, which is fantastic, or record enrollments, right? but it's not the majority, just to be mindful. And I think a lot of jiu-jitsu schools, a lot of Muay Thai schools right now are really doing well, which is awesome. However, when I say that, right, I don't want that to be an excuse for a karate or a taekwondo school to say, well, that, we're in the wrong. We need to start doing Muay Thai, or we need to start doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu, because then you're just chasing the dollar, right? So we have to figure out why, how, what can we do to provide more value. But I'll be curious to see what people put here.
And the other thing that we know is this event, we probably had more jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai schools attend than any other event.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're seeing though is you're seeing the MMA gyms, the Brazilian jiu-jitsu gyms, the Muay Thai, which is usually tied into a BJJ school. You're seeing them starting to professionalize a little bit. So they're having the growth that the karate, the taekwondo schools were a little bit more ahead on, as far as, whether they're learning how to run their business more efficiently or systematically. We're starting to see now the BJJ and MMA schools attend. We had a lot of UFC fighters attend that have gyms. And just overall, just a lot of MMA and BJJ and Muay Thai schools, which is awesome to see, because as an industry, we want to professionalize the industry. So, excuse me one second while I read these comments. Oddly, retention has reared it exactly had the last 60 days. It's more and deeper work, including lots of follow-ups. I could put this up here, I think. Let's put this up here so I can see it. Lots of follow-up, circling backs, rescheduling. A star says an activity and becomes a lifestyle in the beginning is competing in the minds of the students is just another activity, 100%. And listen, first of all, here's something that's going to help you potentially if you all execute this. We talked about this at our event. There's three key things that you need to do in any business. And I don't mean more customers, more transactions per customer, and more money per transaction. That's a business principle across the board. What I mean is you have to be educated. And the problem is some people think they're educated when they're not in how to be more efficient and systemized in their business. But you got to be educated. You got to believe, meaning you got to believe the work you're going to do is going to give you the result that you want. If you don't believe it, you're not going to do it, because it's such baby steps, right? You start implementing systems, and I always say it's a marathon, not a sprint. And most people will bow out of the marathon, right? Because it's just like, when am I ever going to get there? So it takes time. And then the last thing is you have to execute. So you have to educate, believe, and execute. And one of the things that I'll challenge you on is, what is it that you are marketing to your communities? Are you marketing martial arts lessons? And if you're marketing martial arts lessons, first understand that marketing is just getting people in your door. You got to get the masses in your door. So think about this as an extreme example. If you are interested in martial arts, are you going to wait until a martial arts school contacts you? Or if you want to do martial arts, are you going to contact the martial arts school? Well, you're probably going to contact the martial arts school. So when you market, you want to go after the community that doesn't realize they would value or benefit from martial arts. They're not thinking about martial arts. So now you got to market what the end result of what people really want, right? So what is it that people want? Well, I want to know how to defend myself. I want to be more fit. I want to have community. I want to get in better shape. Or if it's a child, I want my child to have more discipline or more focus, more respect. So then what the martial arts industry has done is we market. Does your child have discipline, confidence, focus? The problem with that is it's become numb. That's how everybody has marketed. So what is it that you're exactly marketing, and how do you do that? So an example of that would be, if you want to talk about why we schedule free community events on a specific theme that's not martial arts related.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to what percent of the population is thinking about doing martial arts at any given time, right? And that's a much smaller piece. Well, I'm not going to give you a number, but that's a much smaller piece than the parents that are having difficulty with their children listening. By the way, that's just a bullet point, right? But if you go back and you know, the old school infomercial, right? It was pain, agitate the pain, and then provide the solution. So whatever infomercial you go back to and you remember, it's the same thing in our industry. I think we have the platform to be able to educate more so now than we ever had, between blogs and Facebook and all the online things that you can do, right? But I don't know emails. I don't know that we do a good enough job of educating and then potentially bringing up some of these pains that apply to, in this example, right? For kids martial arts, that might be confidence. But we bullet point them out, and we say we teach confidence, discipline, respect, life skills. Great. But do you really know what that means, and how are you doing it? And why is that important to the potential client or the customer, right? So do I have a challenge right now with my child not being a first time listener at home? Well, then let's talk about what does that look like? Can you encourage someone if they read something, whether that's a blog post or an email or a flyer that they get about like, how does this person know this? Are they in my family room at night? Do they really have they seen what's happened with my child? That's the kind of marketing that you want to be doing in your martial arts school, right? Whether that's for kids, whether that's for adults. An example there, right? They want to lose weight. So if you had a conversation in your marketing about, hey, look, how many summers has it been since you've actually decided to take your shirt off as a guy, right, and go out on the boat, or have you always been embarrassed and well, for people that are living that lifestyle, man, that really resonates with somebody as opposed to just lose weight, feel great, learn self defense, and those just being bullet points. So we have to understand who our market is, number one, and what we're trying to present to them to widen the funnel, if you will. And this is what we can do with free community events. So if you have a confidence through board breaking event as an example for kids, well, you can go on to explain not just a confidence through board breaking, but what is it? What are you going to accomplish at that event? And why should I bring my child to that free community event on a Saturday as an example, or Friday night, whatever that may be? I have to have a compelling reason to do that, right? Maybe it's focus. Maybe there's some kids that are struggling with focus. So maybe it's going to be a focus through board breaking event. Maybe it's just going to be a martial arts 101 clinic to pick up the low hanging fruit of people that are interested in martial arts for their kids. And we just call it martial arts. Is it a stranger awareness workshop now that summer is happening and we know that kids are going to be outside by themselves more often under a less watchful eye? And our goal, our mission is to keep our community safe. Does your child know what to do if this, or this happen? And we start asking questions to get them to think. So there's all different ways and opportunities for people to come into these different events based off of where their child may fit one of those categories. They may fit all of those categories, right? But it's an opportunity for us to bring them in as opposed to, I'm exaggerating the point, hey, do you want your child to learn Taekwondo? Well, a parent doesn't even know what that is in a lot of cases, right? Or do you want your kid to learn karate? Now we've opened the gates, right? What for adults, that's a free community event, right? Back to a 90-minute self-defense and safety workshop as an example, right? Where you can potentially go through some of those things. It could be a boot camp as far as fitness is concerned. Whatever you want to do to appeal to more people and appeal to the masses, to open up this sliver of a market that we're going to, and open a funnel up so we can gather and get more people. So once we have them in front of us, we can then educate as to why they should continue doing what we're doing. And this provides a bigger flow of traffic for us to deal with as opposed to the sliver of the population that we normally go for.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does.
But here, let me present it to you this way. So if like most people in the industry market, for example, try martial arts 4 weeks for $49, or try a free class, try a free week, what are you marketing? You're marketing martial arts. Now, let me ask you guys, how long should someone do martial arts? Did you ever think about that? How long should someone do martial arts? Whether you have contracts or terms or month to month, if I were to ask you, if you're a martial artist, well, how long should a person do martial arts? You would probably say forever, I think, right? I don't know. Well, I mean, how long should they do it? But what if you went out on the street with someone who is not a martial artist and you asked them, hey, if you ever decided to train in martial arts, how long should you train in martial arts for? A week, a month, a year? How long should you train? Most people are going to know that if you're going to do martial arts, it is a long-term commitment. Most people would assume that it is a long-term commitment if they decide they want to do martial arts. Now, what if you said, for example, we're going to do a free community event. This is for kids, for example, and then I'll give you an adult one. We're going to do a free community event, a free focus seminar this Saturday for all the kids in the community. Well, how would that be presented? Wouldn't it be better to say, for example, a free 1 hour or a free 90-minute workshop to give your child unbelievable focus?
We cover the 3 rules of concentration, help your child excel at home and at school, whatever.
Right. 1 hour, 60-minute seminar, 90-minute seminar to give your kids 3 principles on how to increase their focus exponentially. This Saturday, 11 a.m. Well, how many parents do you think would respond to an ad like that as opposed to try our martial arts program, 4 weeks for $49, help your child with focus, discipline, confidence, respect? Do you think you'd get more parents to attend a free workshop on a Saturday, a 90-minute workshop where they're going to learn 3 principles of focus, or 4 weeks for $49 to try martial arts that helps with focus? So that is an example. Now let's talk about adults for a minute. Well, does an adult want to do martial arts, BJJ, Muay Thai, karate, taekwondo, or does an adult want the result of all of those things? Well, most adults train because they want the result of what that will give them. Better shape, self-defense, empowerment, whatever. So what appeals to the masses of adults? Well, with all your adult students or all the adult parents that sit there, and then everyone in your community, school teachers, realtors, anybody, what if you did a free 90-minute or 2-hour team building and self-defense seminar for the adults in the community? And you went to the parents in your school or the adults that train in your martial arts and say, hey, would your coworkers or your company have any interest if we offered a free team building and self-defense seminar, a free team building and fitness seminar for all your coworkers and people that you work with? Well, if you did that with enough parents and you said we're capping it at 20 people, will you get 20 people? I'm telling you, of course you will. Of course you will. Now, when you come in, some of you may be thinking, well, that's a bait and switch. No, it's not. Does martial arts teach team building? Yes. Does martial arts give you fitness? Yes. So we are doing a team building and fitness workshop with martial arts as our avenue to get you team building and fitness. And now what you've done is you educated people who didn't normally think about martial arts because they think martial arts is just all about fighting. And they see this and they go, this was really fun and this was cool and I got a workout and I got to meet some people and this was awesome. Now you can try to sell your program. But marketing is just get them in the door. Sell them once they're in the door.
And going back to your 3, what are they called?
Principles.
3 principles. All right.
Yeah.
So educate, right? And then believe, and then execute. Sometimes what happens when we go through that process, right, is we educate ourselves on something that we're doing, whether that's a program that we're teaching, it's a marketing concept, it's whatever, right? Whatever that may be. Maybe it's a new way of doing business, right? Sometimes we think we believe it, but we don't have the belief behind it because we haven't done it. And then what ends up happening when you execute, you're going to get a result, right? You're going to get a result one way or the other. And whatever that first result is, sometimes determines whether or not you continue to do what you were just educated on. Because if you get positive results with it, you're going to believe like, okay, this does work, and you're going to keep following that. If it doesn't work, you may just dismiss it. And in your mind, subconsciously and consciously, you're going, yeah, I knew this wasn't going to work. And now you go look for the next thing to go educate you. This is where the whole shiny object syndrome comes in, right? We go for the, hey, you know what? I need to go add XYZ program to my martial arts school because of this. Because somebody educated you on that, made you really believe that it was going to work. And then when you went to execute, you either were successful or you were not successful doing that, right? But I would encourage, and this is it's a really good feedback loop that you can go through when you do this. Like, educate yourself. You gotta educate yourself to the point that you believe that it's going to happen. Because if you don't believe it, you're probably not going to execute at the highest level, right? I remember, and some of you may do this, some or may have done this, right? But I remember I was a big Tony Robbins fan, and I remember when intros would come in, introductory lessons would come in. I was literally in the mirror, like trying to get myself ready for these introductory lessons. And it was interesting, whether that's positive affirmations or whatever you're going to do. And that's not everybody's shtick, right? But it was my trigger, and I was just getting ready. And what was interesting is when I got the first person in and got them enrolled, the next 3 appointments, they all enrolled immediately, right? Because I had momentum that was going into it. And I think for some of us, we may need to understand the education piece a little bit more so that we have more believability in what we're doing. It shocks me sometimes as a martial art community, and one of the things that we teach and preach, by the way, is confidence. Yet I find a lot of times that it's very difficult for people to educate and then believe in something and then execute it, because they just don't have the confidence to be able to do that. And I think you can accomplish a lot just if you believe in it. You're going to accomplish. Of course, you've got to execute, right? But if you have this high level of belief, I think you'll see how things around you can change very quickly. So regardless of the situation that you're in, regardless of whether or not you think, we were looking at the stock market this morning, whether or not you think we're in a recession, there's a recession coming, all of these things that can contribute, it is what it is, right? You can choose to participate in the recession if you call it a recession, right? Or in that mindset of, yeah, this is why things aren't going well, and then have an excuse. And then what you'll do is you'll pull back and you won't do anything, right? Or you can ignore all of that and just say, you know what? I got to roll up my sleeves. I got to educate. I got to really believe in what we're doing, and I got to go out there and I have to execute. And I think one of the biggest pieces of this is, do we really understand the impact that we're having on the people that we teach and the people that we come in contact with? And if we don't know how to, I'll say sell, not that you need to be a salesperson to do this, but do you really know how, whether it's working with kids, how do you teach discipline in your school? How do you build confidence in your school? How do you teach? What is the difference between discipline and self-discipline? Do you have a way to articulate that so that you can understand from a parent's perspective? And are you getting the parent to tell you? Remember, if you want to say telling is selling, well, then I'm not going to tell. I'm going to have the parent tell me, or the student or prospect or the adult tell me all of the things that they're going through, because what they're going to do is they're going to sell themselves as they're telling me that. So are we asking the proper questions? Do we know how our program is going to help with that? And if not, maybe it's a time for us to take a step back and go, man, how do we teach confidence in our school? Can you put it into words, or is it just implied? Because I think when you can explain things and educate to people, because this is not just true for you as the martial arts school owner, it's true for your clients and your prospects. They have to be educated. They have to believe in what you do and what you say you're going to do in order for them to execute and actually enroll into your program. So it's not just a business owner thing. It's you have to project that onto your potential customers and clients as well.
So let's talk hard truths. Let me just call it. Listen, if you're a martial arts school that is still open and you were open through COVID and you're still blaming COVID, how you have not recovered, that's a justification and it's not reality, because the data shows that most schools not only recovered after COVID, but had record years and have thrived since COVID. So that's pointing a finger and a blame. Oh, COVID. Oh, the stock market, the economy, the environment, the place, the town. You got to stop that, right? And here's the other harsh reality. For those of you watching, you're either up, even, or you're down in your business. And if you're down in your business, why are you down in your business? Why? So instinctively, right now, for those of you answering to yourself, you're about to blame something else other than yourself, right? The truth is, it could be the economy and the environment could make it harder for us and easier for us to be down, harder for us to grow our business, but it's on us on what we're going to do different. And this is a perfect example of what got you to where you are today will not get you to where you want to be tomorrow. If you're still operating the same as you were a year ago, you're going to be down, right? In most places, you have to adapt. People say work smarter, not hard. We love the analogies. Work smarter, not harder. Sometimes you got to do both. You got to work smarter and you got to work harder. And I could tell you for us in Orlando and Central Florida, we have to work smarter and we have to work harder. We have to grind right now because it's not as easy as it was a year ago, which was not as easy as it was the year before, which was not as easy as 2022. It was not as easy. In 2022, after COVID, it's like the floodgates opened and we didn't have to do anything. People were just coming in, right? Revenue was just easy, recruiting was easy. And we got comfortable doing what we did because it's not like somebody says, and time, and now you got to start working harder. But slowly you start seeing this dip. So we were down 23 to 22, and 24 was down to 23. That all came to an end for 25 now. Now we recognize and we're not going to let 25 go down. And I want to get back to where we were in 22. And we put a very proactive focus about 8 weeks ago. And January was down compared to 24. And then you start seeing this trend. And now March was fantastic for us. And also enrollments, we beat enrollments this quarter than we did last quarter. But we weren't going into February. We were not. But we saved it. The trend is now this way. But it's conscious effort.
Yes, it was conscious effort. It was, and this is going to go back to what you guys don't want to hear, which I'll say in a second.
Hold on.
Yes.
Got to put this up.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do.
But you're not going to want to hear this in a minute. But it went back to educating, like looking at where the numbers here for January, right? And into February. Then making a decision to do some things, right? Change things up a little bit. Getting the team, and by the way, you might be a one-person operation, right? So that's getting you to believe that you can do it, right? But getting the team to really believe that they can do it. And then the most important step is executing, right? So what happened over the course of the last 6 to 7 weeks is they executed, right? And they executed and they've changed that trajectory. And now enrollments are starting to go up, right? Now, what is it that you're not going to like? You're not going to like that I tell you that you have to focus and you have to pay attention to your numbers. The numbers tell the story. The numbers don't lie. This is not a business where we wake up one morning and we're open one day and we're closed the next day. There are signs and it's easy to read, and you either have a trend line that's to the left and down or a trend line that's to the left and up. And if whatever that trend line is, whether it's in recruitment as far as new students or net new students, if it's in revenue, that trend line needs to be going from the left and up to the right. That's where it needs to be going. If it's not, whatever that trend is or whatever that metric is, you have to get it flipped so it is doing that, right? But a lot of us, we preach it for years. It's not sexy, but it's tracking numbers. And you have to track your numbers if you really want to know what it is that you can fix. Because some people say, well, enrollments are down. Well, are enrollments down? Well, maybe it's the fact that maybe your leads are down, right? But are the leads down, or are we booking less appointments? Are we booking less appointments, or are less people showing? Like, we got to find where is that challenge, and then we can address it and we can fix those things. So, interesting off topic, we were having a conversation with a gentleman this morning in a completely unrelated business. I mean, smiling the whole time, like just a genuinely great guy, but he's in business and he knows his numbers inside and out. And he's like, yeah, if we do this, we get this. If we do that, we do that. And it was an interesting conversation. And it was fun to see someone who's really in tune with their numbers, understand how their business is going to grow. And all they need to do is X. And they're in a spot right now where they need more revenue to market more because they already know what the end result is going to be 3 years out from now. because they know their numbers. And I said to Metz today, I said, I don't know that any martial arts school owner, and I'm not, if you do, that's great, but I don't
Wow.
know of any that know their numbers inside and out like that. Do you know the lifetime value of your customer? Do you know what percentage of your leads actually turn into enrollment? And if you did, what was the cost per acquisition for a new enrollment? All of these things, because if you know that data, it really does make your life a lot easier, because now you know, hey, this is all I need to do, and this is going to be the net result afterwards. It makes it easy. It doesn't make it easy. It makes it easier, because then we can start to track and we can start to do the things that we've talked about for years, which is find out where 80% of your enrollments are coming from, right? And that's sometimes what happens is we have a source or two that generates 80% of our enrollments, right? And then we have other sources that generate 20%. And it's the whole Pareto principle. Like, spend 80% of your time, right, doing those things that give you 80% of those results. And so you get more of that and get rid of the things that aren't getting you the results that you want. But it is about decisions. And the other thing is this industry, right? We have egos. And so we don't want to be told, or we don't want to admit sometimes when things aren't going well. And that is the worst thing that you can do, because what will happen is when you start doing that to others, you go back to the belief, you're going to start to believe the lie that you're telling, right? And I say that not to say that you're lying and all the things, but if you're not going to admit where you're at and you think things are just magically going to get better, you can't have this course correct that fast, right? You have to know and understand where you're at and be able to be in a circle of people, right, that you can have these conversations, so you can right that wrong and get things going the direction that they need to be. Otherwise, it's a really long, it can be a very long, painful time if you stay in that rut. And as I think it was who's I forget the motivational speaker. It doesn't matter. Mike Metzger. Yes.
Yeah.
A rut is nothing more than a grave with the ends dug out. Was what I was trying to go. Lead the field? Who was that? Earl Nightingale. Was Earl Nightingale?
Yeah, it was.
Yes, it was.
First, I want to apologize. He doesn't mean it when he calls you guys liars and that you don't track your numbers. So, on behalf of the Metzger Tassoul Show, the words that are said and the expressions are not a reflection of the show itself. They're personal opinions, but I will apologize.
We'll put a disclaimer. Yes.
Yeah, we'll put that up on the end. Secondly, nobody likes to hear the truth unless you're ready for it. Another saying is, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And sometimes the teacher's there the whole time, but you're just not ready. But at the end of the day, just ask yourself, are you where you want to be with your martial arts school? Yes or no? The other justification is, I hear this, you've heard this, I don't want more students. I'm happy where I'm at. That is the most asinine thing I've ever heard when running a business. Why would you not want to impact more lives if you really believe in what you do? I don't understand it. If you want, you can please type it in and explain it to me on why you would not want to impact any more people than the number of people that you have, right? I think what you do is you associate that with more stress, more headache. People will justify, I don't want to hire people because they'll never teach the way I want to do. Well, that's a training problem, in training your people. And if that was the case, whoever says that, are you the best instructor on planet Earth? Like, nobody else can teach as good as you. Nobody's better than you at instructing. Like, it's just, we got to stop the excuses if you want to grow. So, there's people watching this right now. I don't know if you like this approach, but you can't argue with the approach. Your business is either growing or dying. I mean, that's what's happening. Or you're just on the gerbil wheel, which I say you're spinning your wheel. You're working so hard just to keep it where it's at. But why would we want to just keep it where it's at? So if you're not growing, ask yourself, why not? If you know how to grow your business, why aren't you doing it? The reality is most people don't. Most people don't. We got into martial arts not because we just wanted to be great business people. We got into martial arts because we love martial arts. At some point, you got to realize, I need help. I need guidance. I need coaching. Do we offer coaching? Yes. The problem is, and the great thing is there's a million different consulting companies out there, but you got to put the time in and educate yourself, pick up the phone and ask questions, talk to them, because there are people in this industry that can help you get to the next level with your business. The problem is there's a lot of them that can't. There's a lot of them that will tell you they can, or they're charismatic. By the way, I just say this because I've seen this for 20 some years. Do you want 30 new students this month? Now, you saw an ad with us, how we got 49 students in one day. And I've seen, there was like one comment or a laughing emoji. Well, I don't know what's so funny. The truth is we got 49 students in one day. But if you click on that video, I say on the video, can everybody get 49 students in one day? No, not everybody can, because I don't know where you are, what the density is, but I'm going to give you the formula that we used for us to get 49 students in one day. And the thing is can you get 10 using that formula? Some of you will get more. I know there's people on here that have gotten more than that in one day. And I mean enrolled, not leads, enrolled on 1-year programs, by the way, not month to month, right? On 1-year programs in one day. So that is the truth. That is what we did. And then we share the blueprint. However, you will never see an ad from us that says, we'll teach you how to get 30 students a month, because it's not realistic. It's just not. And you guys got to be, you got to be smart enough to ask these questions, right? Because if you're not where you want to be in business, find someone who can help you. But if somebody tells you, we're doing $1 million a year in one location, well, I need information. How many students do you have? What's the density in your area? What's the household income? Do you do an after-school pickup program for 100 hours a week or 200 hours a week? I need more information, not because I need to know whether they're real or not. I mean, anyone that's doing $1 million a year is doing a great job. But can I do what they're doing? That's the question. Can I do it? If you're a school that just does not want to get vans or have a transportation company, bring kids to your school, if you don't want to do that, well, then maybe you can't do that formula, right? If somebody is in within a 3-mile radius, there's 2 million people, and you're in a town where in a 2-mile radius, there's 500 people, can you enroll 30 students a month? No. So what are the systems that you can teach me that's going to work for me in this town? Just make sure you get the information. But if you want to know how to grow your school, find somebody that can help you do it. It's that simple, because if you know how to do it, then do it. If you know how to do it, do it. If you don't, find someone that can help you. Thank you, Tass. That was a great comment. Anyway.
Asinine? They're asinine. That's what you said earlier.
Did I say that?
You did say that earlier, yes. So I apologize for him. At any rate, listen, on a serious note, wherever you are in your business, do you understand how fast that you can make a difference in what you're doing? For some of you that are watching this, if you enrolled 15 more students in your school, it would be an unbelievable difference for you, right? It would be an extra, whatever that number is for you, $2,000, $3,000 a month, which right now may be all the difference that you need, right? And then once you understand how to do that and you can repeat that over and over and over, it's unbelievable how fast we can grow in this industry. So I hope that you all have this mindset, number one, that you believe what we're saying, right? Because it is true. You can make a turnaround in a very short period of time, but it requires focus, right? And it requires intent. And it's not just going to happen. It's not like we're just going to have, a bunch of people show up at our door and like, okay, I'm just waiting for it. I'm waiting for it. You're going to have to take action. It's not going to be easy, right? But it can be very rewarding when you put that work in, when you work smarter and harder, and then you get the results that you're looking for. And you may not always get them the first time, but you keep doing it, and guess what happens? It's like the harder you work, the luckier you get, and at some point, you're going to have this pop, and you're going to be like, oh my God, this just made all the difference in the world to me. I think it's important for people to understand that, because you can get to that level very, very quickly, right? And by the way, if it's not quick, well, what if it is slow? What if, let me give an example, right? Most people don't track this, so you have no idea. But if you had 100 students in your school and you have a 6% attrition rate, you're losing 6 students a month. And maybe you're struggling to get enrollments. Maybe you're only getting two enrollments a month, right? Well, that's a differential of 4 people a month. Over the course of 12 months, you're down 48 or 50 students. So now you're going to be close to 50 or 60 students. Like, over time, that's a dramatic difference over time. But what if all we did was we had a differential of enrolling 4 more than we did every month, right? Well, now we're going to be up net students, 48 students. So we're going to be up to 150 or we're going to be down to 50. Like, which way do you want that line to go? And that's what we need, where we need to put our time, effort, and energy and be able to accomplish those things. And this is where I think it can be extremely exciting, and it can also be extremely deflating. It's exciting when what you do works and you'll go do more of it. It's deflating when you try and do something and it doesn't work. And then you're like, man, I tried that already. And this is where we find sometimes where we have people that come to us when they feel like they've tried those things and they are just so close to a breakthrough. It's like the cartoon where the guy's digging and he's digging the tunnel, and then the shovel's down, right? Puts the shovel down in the last frame, and 2 more shovels full, and you'd have gotten to like the room of gold, right? And that's where some of you are in your business right now. You are so close to having a breakthrough, and we just need to keep doing it. However, some of you are not using the right shovel. And so you're not going to be able to break through, right? And that's where you need the education piece of it and find out what other people are doing and how to do that. So you can have the belief, you can have the education, you can have the belief in what you're doing. And when you execute, you're getting those results. And this is, look, there is no better industry. I'm partial because I'm a martial artist, but we have literally recurring revenue, which everyone's trying to get. The car washes, right? Everyone's trying to get recurring revenue. It is a great business model. We have an ascension program. If you do, which you all do, you just may not realize it, but if you do some sort of an upgrade program and provide more value and allow it as an option for people if they want to pay for that extra value, right? So we have these things that are in play, and it's an unbelievable business to be in and an unbelievable time to be in this business. I really strongly believe that. I think when people are looking for businesses, this is something that they're looking for. What can we do that's recurring? What can we do to potentially ascend people to another level to generate more revenue? And by the way, that will also increase our retention and keep people longer and keep people paying more and staying more. So listen, we're here to help. So if you guys need anything, we're here to help you however we can, but you have to do the work at the end of the day.
Why is it that people in general make life harder than it needs to be? Is it fear? Is it ego? Is it non-belief? The thing about the industry or us who are transparent with our numbers, there's so many people. Well, just for anybody that's on here, I don't even know, but if you want to share, because that's another thing this industry does is they don't respond. But if you've ever been to my schools in Orlando, just put a thumbs up, because anybody's welcome. You come see it yourself. You'll see the spreadsheets. You can see our numbers. You can see our stats. It's an open book here. So my point in that is, you can't say it doesn't work, because I mentioned this before. With 9 locations here and 155 affiliates. I don't see the locations, but 156, 157 now affiliates nationwide in Canada. For people that are on Facebook that see somebody share something and then bash it, make fun of it, say that's not real, that's whatever. That's asinine is what that is. So apologize again. There you go. All right. You can't say something doesn't work when it's working in our group, in our circle. Like, for example, you can't say referral programs don't work. When you were in the meeting, I learned it too. We signed up with the 9 schools. Let me say that, with the 9 schools. Full transparency over 6 weeks, 9 schools. With the referral program that we did, 44 new students, strictly from the referrals. Well, those 44 new students equated in over $11,000 a month in recurring revenue, right? Well, is somebody going to try to tell me referral programs don't work? I mean, the reason why people will buy into that, if somebody, I'm using this as an example, referral programs don't work, let us show you what really works, is because the majority of you don't know how to present a referral program. So you've done referrals, you've asked for referrals, you never got a student from it. So if somebody comes out and say referral programs, you'll gravitate towards that because you're like, they're absolutely right, they don't work. But yes, they do work. Yes, they do. Right? So,
And to your point,
yeah.
if
Do I have a point?
not often, not often. Okay. Um, but again, in full disclosure, if you went back to the month prior and said how many referrals did you get, I, th- I think we had an answer, which was like two, right? So, to my point is this: number one, what you focus on is going to get you results. So this is what the focus was for the last 6 weeks, and we came up with a different an idea and a concept for this referral. Got everyone to weigh in, got everyone to buy in, and everybody goes and executes. And over 9 schools, that's 44 enrollments from referrals specifically, right? So divide that out. That's 5 new students in a month per location on average. What would you do, right? If you focused on, hey, what if I just focus on my referral program for 1 month and I got 5 more students as a result of that? In your, I'm just taking the average here, but in your school, would that be more referrals than what you normally get? And for some of you, might say, well, no, that's just we get all of our students from referrals. Okay, well, great. Well, how many was that last year, and what else could you do? But this idea about how much faster you can grow and how quick you can grow things, like if you just put in the time, effort, energy, and you focus on something and you execute it, you're going to get more of that thing. And sometimes what we focus more often than not is on all the reasons why we can't do better, why that won't work, why this won't work. And so what do we get? We get more of those reasons, right? And this we all teach this, I think, as martial artists. Your thoughts become things. You get what you focus on, right? And that's what we need to understand. And so maybe we need to listen to what we're saying, what we're thinking, what we're telling ourselves, what we're telling others. And is that going to help what I'm trying to accomplish, or is it going to hurt what I'm trying to accomplish? Because the mind is very, very powerful in what it can do and the outcomes that you can have.
So going back to some of this stuff, we make life harder, right? Because success is hard. Success is hard. Success is hard in any area of your life, whether it's business, marriage, being a parent. If you want to be successful, it's not easy. You got to work at it. So we're not ones to say, hey, try out our advice or our programs or our systems and it's going to be easy. I'm telling you right now, it's not. It's not easy in the beginning. It gets much easier because it becomes systemized. But in the beginning, it is not easy. And sometimes when the environment or the economy or whatever you want to say doesn't cooperate with us, it becomes hard again. And it's not as easy. We got to grind now again. We have to grind if we want to continue to grow. So it's not easy. But at what point, what stops people from taking action and looking for help? I mean, if you're watching this, it's possible. Do you really think there is nothing that we can do, or Maya in general can do to help you grow your school? I mean, that would be crazy because I think everyone watching this has something that I can get from you where I'm going to learn something that's going to help me with my school, right? And so, first of all, open your mind and branch out and do the work and the research. But how long do you want to go to make it a struggle? Whatever it is, how long do you want to go to where you're struggling? We, we enrolled more students last month because of the focus. And again, he was in so we have a meeting with all of it was a meeting with all like full timers. It was packed in our conference room at our headquarters. But I go there to get the information too, because my directors and our vice president of business operations, and they run those meetings. But we wanted to join and listen in. But because of the focus, like we enrolled more students in March than we have possibly in any March. We may have had a record enrollment month in March. because of the focus. And it's not as easy today as it would have been if we had this focus 2 or 3 years ago, right? But we get comfortable. All of us get comfortable. When it's good enough, we get comfortable. But when you have experiences where life or your business is good enough, and then you realize there's these dips or downturns, it wakes you up, and we don't want to have that anymore. So we got to be more astute. Now, the only thing that makes us more astute is the trends based on the data and the numbers. And Miss Ramos here says, Mets is not for the soft people. Well, let me give you an example of the context of that. My wife will not watch the news. She won't watch the news. She says it's too depressing. I'm not watching the news. I'm like the news guy. I just report the news and tell it to you straight. And for a lot of people, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. We shy away from that stuff. But the difference is when I'm reporting the news to you, if I tell you you're not doing good enough, you're not doing good enough. Now, we could be upset about it, but the great thing about it is we could do something about it. Whereas if you're watching the news and they're talking about inflation, tariffs, this, that, and the other, or the economy, you can't do much about that. So it could be depressing because you have no control. But in the context of helping you with your business, I'm going to tell you whether you're doing well or not based on the information you give me. You could be upset at me. You could say, this guy's an asshole. This guy, he's thinks he knows. The data tells us. I just report it back. The good news is we can do something about it, or we can get upset about it and shy away from it. I mean, it's just your thing. So anyway, thank you. I'm getting a news flash. We have breaking news. Thank you, Perry. All right. So my point is life is about choices, and sometimes the choice that you need to make is the harder choice. Most of the times, you want to be in shape, you want to get more fit, get to the gym. But waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning to get to the gym, well, that's much harder than just sleeping in and relaxing, right? So it's a choice, but it will help you. But if you go to the gym for a week, you're not seeing the results yet. But you do know that if you go to the gym every week, you'll start seeing results. And it's the same thing with your business. Thank you.
It's all about decisions.
Yeah, it is.
You have decisions. Yeah, it is. You have decisions, right? Do what you've always done, stay where you're at, or do something different and move forward, right? That's really what it comes down to. So the choice is yours, everybody. It is the start of the second quarter. 25% of this year is already behind us, which is just freaking crazy. And look, every day you have the opportunity to wake up and make today the beginning, right? Today, the start, the beginning of, whatever those new decisions are that you're going to make. And just be mindful in your business. Sometimes we get really busy being busy, and we're not working on the right things, right? Are you doing something that's going to keep a student? Are you doing something that's going to get a new student, right? And if you're not doing one of those two things, right, you're probably not going in the right direction.
That's a great point.
Thank you, sir.
Because some people confuse working hard with working smart. And some people work after a day of teaching or running your school. That is sometimes disguised as growing your school. You might be at the end of the day and you might be like, oh my gosh, today was so busy. It was so busy. Did you get a new student? Did you generate revenue besides your recurring revenue? That's the other thing we could talk about. Your recurring revenue. You are not in business to just maintain and generate revenue and growth by your recurring revenue. That's a very hard business model when you really focus. If 90% or more, put it this way, if 50%, you were going to correct me on that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. If 50% or more of your revenue is coming from the memberships or the programs or the recurring money that people pay every month, if 50% or more of the revenue from your school is coming from that, that's a hard business model. That's like one stream of revenue, and I got to focus on one stream. Would you want to run a business with one stream of revenue or 15 streams of revenue to grow your business? You know the answer. I want a business model where I can grow with 15 streams of revenue. The billing by itself should represent 50% or less. All the other streams should represent the other 50% or more of your revenue. So what I mean is if you have 100 students paying you $100 a month, every month they pay 100 a month. That's 10,000 a month that's coming in every month because I have 100 students paying $100. This is most of you. What are you grossing at the end of the month? What is your gross revenue? Most of you will say 11,000, 12,000 a month. That's what we're grossing. It should be 20,000 or more. And if it's not, we don't know how to get other streams of revenue into our business without forcing the revenue. And what I mean by forcing is it's about providing value to your customers to where they can choose whether or not they want to generate or spend more money on value that has nothing to do with your core curriculum. I mean, last example, just because I know this is such a sensitive subject, but if I want a good steak, I'm going to go to Eddie V's Steakhouse or Ruth Chris Steakhouse or Morton Steakhouse, wherever. But I'm going to go to a steakhouse because I want steak. When I walk into the steakhouse and I sit down, I am not going to be insulted that there's a wine list on the table and I can order a bottle of wine. I'm not going to be insulted that there's appetizers. I'm not going to be insulted that there's a dessert menu. But if I want steak and I don't want to order anything else, will my steak be as good as the person next to me who ordered 2 bottles of wine, appetizers, and dessert? Yes. The core product will be just as good. And that's what I wanted, and I chose that's what I wanted. They chose that I'd love wine and shrimp cocktail and dessert and a coffee or a cappuccino. So I spent 55, 60, 70 bucks. They spent 170 bucks. That's how you got to run your business, no matter what business you're in. But this is where this industry has a mental block on, well, that's nickel and diming. That's why is it in our industry nickel and diming, but it's not nickel and diming at the steakhouse or anywhere. McDonald's, I want a cheeseburger. I'm not insulted if they say for an extra $1.50, do you want a drink and fries? I'm not insulted. I can choose. But my cheeseburger that I was craving is going to be just as good. In your martial arts school, if you tell me it's $100 a month and I'm going to get these lessons in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Taekwondo, whatever it is, I'll pay $100 a month and I want to get the same quality all the way up to black belt. However, do you have a menu of other things that I can add if I want that has nothing to do with my curriculum? Well, if you don't, and if you don't understand that, and if you don't know how to present it the right way, then you're making it more of a struggle. So if you're down in revenue, if you're down in recruitment, we already talked at the beginning about how you need to market yourself. But you have to understand the internal workings of a business and systems if you want to maximize your revenue. Are we qualified to talk about that? I think so. I would invite anybody to come in and, show me how they're more successful in the martial arts business without partners or anything else, as just one ownership and running what we're running, right? And student value and gross revenue compared to the amount of students and active count and infrastructure and taking care of their people, because I want to learn from everybody. But the problem is don't be closed-minded. Tradition of the martial arts and culture sometimes gets in the way of business growth. And that's sometimes an issue as well, right? So anyway, just wanted to thank you, Tess. Yeah.
His phone's beeping him because his blood pressure is starting to get a little high, everybody. So we will pause. We'll take a deep breath. Listen, it was great to be back. Great to see everybody back on here, and looking forward to hearing your success stories. It is the beginning of Q2. Let's get out of the gate strong and make an impact every day. And if we have great days, those will lead to great weeks, which will lead to a great month, right? And so just remember that.
Who's on? Mr. Beard.
Hey, Mr. Beard.
The man, Mr. Beard. Here's a guy who can also help you in the industry, Mr. Robbie Beard. So it's great to see you, sir. Anyway, good luck, everybody. I'm sure I lost a few fans today.
That's wouldn't be a day of Mets.
Is there any
Lose
fans
a couple
left?
people.
Right. That's right. All right, guys. Thanks for everything.
All right,
Good
everyone.
luck. We'll talk
Bye-bye,
to everyone
everybody.
soon. Bye-bye.